I've seen so many times that limitations actually breed creativity.
Exactly.
We feel like when we've got a lot of options, we're going to be, I'll be good. I've got a lot of options here. But really sometimes when we have too many options, we're paralyzed with options.
You know, sometimes when I'm in Africa, I don't have what I need. And that really, it's stressful. I'll give you an example. One time I was operating on a gunshot wound to the knee, young man, and he had a injury to his blood vessel, and he was bleeding. He'd been bleeding profusely for several hours before he got there. When he got to us, he was cold and low blood pressure and still bleeding from his leg, and we had to urgently operate on his leg to try to save his leg because his foot was cold. And anyway, we were operating, and he was cold, and he was bleeding, and we couldn't stop the bleeding immediately, and his blood quit coagulating like it should. And we were at an end, so we just called for blood, and there was no blood in the blood bank. And that really doesn't happen in the United States. I mean, the blood banks are always full, but that's stretching. When you have a patient's life on the line here, and you're in charge of his care, and you have no blood. And so, anyway, talking about creativity and flexibility, right during the operation, one of the surgeons I was operating with, he just said, "Hey, can I leave for a second?" I said, "Sure, I can keep operating." And about 15 minutes later, he came back with a big bag of blood, warm blood. He'd given his own blood.
Oh, wow.
And we transfused that young man, and were able to do an operation that saved his life. And but anyway, you know, that's the flexibility and creativity I think sometimes that you have to have when you're on mission. And I'm not advocating at all doing anything unsafe. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes God will stretch you and require you to learn some new things, do things some different ways. And I think it increases your trust in Him.